Fam, what's good? It's your boy Thou, Fam over TV. I appreciate everybody tapping into the channel, showing love. These videos are for entertainment purposes only. So, you know what I'm saying? Just watching with your own discretion. We got another good one. We're about to check out some near death experiences um, and some reincarnation conspiracies. Y'all believe you can transcend and come back as something else? Or have you ever had a near death experience? Have you ever almost went all the way there to that light and came back? I don't know. We're going to check out some of these videos. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Appreciate everybody tapping in. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's get it.
Fam over.
In the driver's seat, and I just mumbled under my breath, fuck this. I opened the door, jumped out, boom, head hits the concrete. I'm like, I think this hurts, because I wasn't sure if it hurt. And I was like, oh, let me just go home. And then it was hard to get up, and something's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Something keeps telling me that, so I keep trying to get up and try to like pull myself as hard. So I use like all my force to just pull myself up, and I just, it was like this suction feeling like going right out. And I look down and see a body laying right there. And I'm like, that's my body? I'm like, nah, that's my mind messing with me. I'm just gonna go home now. I took about 3 steps. Everything was just different colors, slow motion. Next thing you know, I'm like, how the could this happen? And I just get this feeling right here from the most dominant force you'll ever feel in your life. I knew it was God because you just know it was that strong. I could compare it to being hit by lightning every time, just constantly. After every sentence, it was after every statement, just pew, pew, pew. And I had a bunch of questions in my head, and just in the order the questions were in my head, they were answered. I was thinking, who are you? So it was like, let me reintroduce myself. I am God. Yes, I am real. Yes, angels are real. They're a gift for me. Want to meet them? I didn't believe in angels, so I said no. I'm like, I don't want to see no angels. I don't believe in that stuff. Oh, that's stuff for TV, I thought. And I just see like this projector screen like comes up. You see a lady walking, like a prostitute. She's walking by. He's like, I love her. Then you see this guy with a suit and a briefcase. He's like, just straight edge. She's like, I love him. And then you see this guy on a skateboard, a joint. And God's like, I love him. What I took from that was he wanted me to know you think you're not good enough, but you are. Because I love everybody. Then he says, I will go to the end of the world so that everyone is with me. I was like, oh, he'll literally will go to the end of the earth for us, just so we can be with him because he loves us like that. I said, what am I supposed to do when I go back to earth so people don't think I'm crazy? And he says, go and tell everyone that I love them.
Y'all think he capping?
I didn't see him at all. I just felt him. He gets on a knee and then gives me a hug. The hug was very like tight and safe, and I did not want to let go. So the first meeting with like Source was, oh my God, I don't deserve to be here. Get me out of here. I'm not perfect. Let me go get perfect. It went from that to, don't let me go from this hug. I felt cared for, and I wasn't used to that. I definitely was not used to being someone caring about me. Like what? Not like genuinely, unconditionally. I would say he's a male, right? Because like his dominance was just so like manly male. It was like the most macho male. But that hug and his caring was way more than woman, like way more than a woman. So it's like kind of both and all in one. So that's why I just kind of say Source. I don't really call him or her, or I just say it.
This man died for 90 minutes and explains what the afterlife is like. He says there's nothing, as in no sounds, voices, or lights, but there are a lot of different near-death experience stories where people have reconnected with those that passed. What do you think happens in the afterlife?
If the thought of your own death isn't horrifying enough, consider that scientists are now saying that you actually will be aware that you're dead for up to 20 seconds. For several decades, scientists have been studying people who claim to have near-death experiences. Whether you believe them or not, they're studying them and finding out more about what actually happens in the brain as death takes over. Approximately 5% of dying patients and 10% of cardiac arrest patients describe having near-death experiences where they float above their bodies, they see a white light, they travel through a tunnel, they see lost loved ones. Some people say that this proves that there is an afterlife, and other people say that it proves that there's something neurological going on. So scientists have been studying rats. They stopped their hearts and checked their brain waves and found that their brain was flooded with a ton of electrical current. Some people think that that explains the white light and the tunnel and the falling and the sort of psychedelic experiences that happen to people, but there is no proof because obviously we don't know what a rat is seeing in their mind.
Right.
Having a near-death experience is there's a chemical reaction going on in your brain. Some people have attributed it to what they call DMT. There is no proof that the levels of DMT in your brain actually increase at the point of death. But they have done research comparing the experiences of people who've had near-death experiences and people who've had psychedelic trips on ketamine or on DMT, and they find that they are quite similar. And the word that people most often use to describe these things is reality, which is interesting. What we do know is that at the point of death, there's a huge surge of neural activity in your brain. Whether or not we know that we're dead is not 100% certain, but there are many people who have had near-death experiences and have heard their own death announced by a surgeon or by a family member, which is pretty fucking wild and I think absolutely terrifying.
Now, I never had a near-death experience. Well, I've been in a few shootouts, so I guess that's a near-death experience. But like, far as like almost crossing over, transcending, and seeing something, and then coming back to life and everything, like that gotta be life changing. Have any of y'all ever had like a near-death experience or anything that happened to y'all? That anything, man? Just say, comment some in the comments for me, man, in the chat. Make sure y'all like that video. I appreciate everybody.
My life really began the night of my NDEs.
I was pulled out of my body.
I was wishing I could communicate to the medical team that this is okay. You do not need to save this girl. I lifted up out of my body. I just felt all the pain went away, and I was in this other ethereal body.
And I looked over to the right, and I saw all these relatives of mine who had died before, and they were waving.
And I saw this big tunnel with a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's where I belong.
In that white light, every question I ever had was answered immediately.
And I started seeing my life pass by. I felt good about it. I'm watching myself. Oh, I remember that.
The light knew everything that I ever thought, did, or will do. I didn't have a question for the light. Why? Because I know all the answers. Then the light says to me, you have to go back.
I'm not going back there because it's nasty. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the emergency room at the hospital.
I was back on Earth.
3 dimensions, when there's not a lot of love, is a real difference from where I was. And here are some of the things I've learned from this. That the most important thing is love.
Wild stories, man.
Out. I was kind of in the corner of the room looking down at the surgeons and looking down at my body. And when you're outside of body, you don't see with normal eyes. You kind of see with this 360-degree vision, and you can zoom in on something, or you can see behind you, but it's not that important. You know, you're mainly looking at what you're looking at. But I remember the tops of the surgeons' heads, and I remember their hands, and I remember that there was a song on the radio. There was actually an Elvis song on the radio. It was the easy listening station. And so I was like, oh, I know this station. And so there was, a lot of awareness of the room itself and of the surgeons. And then I thought, oh, I'm alive. I live beyond this body. And I was so excited. I wanted to tell my agnostic friends in that moment. I was like, oh, I could explain this to them. They will understand consciousness definitely goes on. It was a much longer time period that it took to actually communicate with them. But I thought that that moment was profound enough. Just looking at my body, looking at the surgeons, I was happy. I mean, there is no word that describes that happiness. It was relief and absolute peace that we go on. I mean, I was convinced in that first moment because my consciousness felt at ease. Like, I always feel a little bit nervous in the body, and I think most people do, probably to some degree. There's some pain somewhere, or some anxiety, or something is going on. In that space, nothing. There was no pain. There was just peace.
So once we transcend, which y'all do you believe our soul go somewhere else and live somewhere else, or is it an afterlife? Do we reincarnate, come back as somebody else? Like, what do y'all think? Like, all these different stories and everything is very interesting and everything, but what do y'all think? Make sure y'all like the video. Hell no, I wouldn't even be out there. One mistake and you down that motherfucking steep ass. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I know that hurt. Damn. Woo. Really. Oh my God.
When people have these near-death experiences, okay, or one where they're dying on a table, and they commonly described, they leave their body and they look back on themselves. Okay, that's a thing going. That's something. Okay,
Right.
Let's investigate this. The test for whether you really left your body or whether you were hallucinating it is get some writing that faces the ceiling up above your body. Okay? And they've done this experiment. And if you're floating above your body, above that piece of paper, when you come back to life, you should be able to say what's written on that piece of paper. And that is yet to happen.
If you get above it.
Yeah, if you get above it. Correct. That is yet to happen.
Every time you study a near-death experience, right, where they actually remember what happened to them, at least 80 to 90% of them will tell you that they had an encounter with Jesus in heaven and they seen demons in hell. So she had a near-death experience and she actually went to hell. Look at her. This lady went to hell.
Eventually, I could see kind of a reddish glow was happening. And I thought, oh, great, the sun's coming up. Maybe I'll be able to see where I am.
Damn, baby, what you did?
It wasn't clear. It was foggy, swirling fog. And then it started getting a little too warm, and then I started hearing shrieking coming out of this fog. And I thought, oh wow, this can't be good. And then this voice just boomed out, scared me half to death, and said, do you know where you are? And the only thing I can come up with is hell?
So you guys heard it. She was in hell. And God said, do you know where you are? Jesus
Mama
Christ
thought
is the
she was
only way
in
to
hell.
heaven. And near-death experiences, NDEs, confirm it.
Man, that's wild right there. Y'all can somehow. So somebody gonna look like you. Damn, some of these almost identical.
What if I told you that this isn't Taylor Swift, but in fact, the high priestess of the Church of Satan, Zena LaVey? Some people go as far to believe that Taylor Swift is the exact clone, reincarnation of Zena LaVey.
Everybody
Some
think
people
Taylor
even
Swift
say
demonic.
that she is Zena LaVey. It's kind of weird because they look the exact same, down to what they like. There's an image of both Taylor Swift fantasizing over holding snakes, and so does Zena LaVey. There's even an uncanny likability between their singing. What makes it even more strange is that some people won't even listen to Taylor Swift's music because they believe that her fan base is a cult. Sort of like Zena LaVey. Is it a coincidence? Or is Taylor Swift actually a vampire?
What they call death is not more than your soul and your spirit leaving the avatar.
I went to a Taylor Swift concert out here at Allegiant Stadium. Man, I only went for a second because my homie was working the concert and they had like a little suite. So he's like, man, come check it out. I went and checked it out. Man, Taylor Swift got a cult following. She had about 70,000 fans in Allegiant Stadium, and it was the craziest thing ever. I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I don't know. I don't know about Taylor Swift, but let's keep it going, man. What y'all think? Make sure y'all hit that like button for me. Appreciate everybody in the building, man. Salute to everybody. Salute to my moderators and everybody, man. Appreciate all the love.
Leaving the avatar, nigga. You leave the avatar. Now you got two options. You can turn around to that darkness, nigga, and keep going to other realms, other galaxies, and keep moving because you've already experienced this reality called Earth. Or you can go into the motherfucking light, nigga. You got two options at what they call death. Hey, if you go into the fucking light, that's the moonlight. You're going to go into the moon's light, it's going to pull your ass in, and they're going to bleach your soul of its memories and redirect it back into Earth, and that's what we call reincarnation. Okay? You don't want to do that. That's what a lot of you have been doing. Going into the moonlight. Because when your soul and spirit leaves the avatar, it takes 40 to 72 days for it to fully leave the planet. So when somebody dead, they soul and their spirit still be in the atmosphere though. It takes 40 to 72 days for a soul and spirit to fully transcend this atmosphere after the point of what they call death, nigga. Hear me? So look, once you at that point, you got two options. You can either A, go into the light, or B, go into the darkness. If you go into the darkness, you break free of reincarnation. You will now have full freedom to go wherever you want to go from there. Because that's how life really was before they created the moonlight and hijacked this realm and put us under light code lockdown. Which what we are under, which they are doing that through blocking out the suns, right? With the clouds, right? But it didn't always do this. Right? So now because of time, that's how we got the time. So about time. Remember I was telling you about breaking down time. Because of the belief in time and breathing in all this oxygen, you begin to age, and it leads you to this point they call death. And also your belief in it. Now they gave you religion your whole life just for this point of death. So you basing everything you know about death off religion. Like, okay, well, when you die, if you do good, you go to heaven. You do bad, you go to hell. Ain't no heaven or hell. That's a motherfucking lie, nigga.
So he said, when you about to transcend, you know, you got the light and then you got the darkness. You're supposed to go into the darkness because you go break the cycle of the reincarnation. But if you go into the light, you go reincarnate. So he basically saying reincarnation isn't good, or I don't know. Y'all help me out, man. But that's crazy, man. These experiences is crazy.
And there's this bright white light all around me. And I noticed like rolling hills off in the distance. And the sky is blue, but it's not like sky blue here. It was almost a metallic or pearly blue, but it was also very bright, but not blinding bright, just bright white. And I was standing in a meadow of grasses and beautiful flowers. I'm looking around like this thinking, well, this isn't normal. This isn't what surgery is normally like, at least for me. But it was exceedingly lucid. It didn't feel like a hallucination to me. Several years before this, I had been given a medication that caused me to hallucinate. So I understand what hallucinations were like. And what I was experiencing now wasn't like that at all. It felt like I was there. It was more real almost than here. So I was thinking about that. I don't know for how long. Time was immaterial. But I started to just think about what was going on. And I began to wonder, wow, I wonder if I died on the operating table. And I contemplated that for a while and kept wondering about, wow, I wonder if I'm dead. Well, if I'm dead, how come I'm not seeing my deceased relatives? You know, how come my dad isn't here or my sister isn't here? And it dawned on me that, wait a minute, if I'm really dead, in Catholic grade school, I learned that atheists went to hell. That's what they taught. And so I thought, well, wait a minute, why am I here? Shouldn't I be in a much hotter place than this because I didn't believe in any of this. I'm looking around thinking, I don't believe in this. Why am I here? And then surprisingly, there was an answer from outside, and which really shocked me. I didn't know that anybody else was with me in whatever this was. So I get this answer, and the answer was just, it was like it was all around me. And it was a voice that was very strong, but not loud, not really loud, but just really strong. And the voice said, welcome home. This is your home. You know, you're a part of us. You're a part of this. You know, you're a part of me. Welcome home. And I just lost it. I almost lose it like that every time I tell people about this, because it was just so moving and it was so welcoming. And I'd never felt, in my entire life, I'd never felt that welcomed anywhere. Not as much as I was being welcomed wherever this was that I was in now. And I could feel waves of peace coming like from outside of me, coming through me, I guess probably trying to keep me calm. And I felt waves of love, just pure unconditional love coming from somewhere else. And I'd never felt anything like that before, ever. And I didn't know what that was all about, but I immediately knew that wherever I was home, that place we call Earth wasn't my real home, that this was. And while it was a form of reality, it wasn't my ultimate reality, that wherever it was that I was now, that was real. I sat with that for a while, like wondering what was going to happen and just enjoying being in this place. I still didn't know what was going on. And I was expecting at some point that either a deceased relative would come to claim me and take me somewhere else, or something would happen. It turns out that there was a figure that came up to me kind of from off to the side. She seemed to just come out of nowhere. And she came up to me and she gave me a big welcoming embrace of just love and told me that she was going to be my teacher, that she would help me, learn what I needed to learn in order to continue my life on Earth and make it one that I would be proud to live. And I kind of fixated on that. I said, wait a minute, you're going to send me back there? I don't want to go back there.
Right.
And she said, well, you've already agreed to go back. And I told her, I don't remember that. I didn't agree to it now. I don't remember agreeing to going back there. She said, well, you agreed to do that before you were born. But my human self, Nancy, the atheist that I had just been, had never heard of this before. So I challenged her on it. I said, well, I don't remember agreeing to anything before I was born. So kind of in the air in front of me, it's very weird how this happened, but in the air in front of me, she showed me the time before I was born when I was agreeing to some of the things that I wanted to do and experience while I was in this life of Nancy. And one of the agreements that I had made was I would very likely turn away from spirituality or religion and be that way for quite a while. But I had 3 different points along that path where I had an opportunity to turn back and live a more spiritually connected life. The first time was when I was a teenager. That had come and gone. The second time was when my father died. And there were some things that happened during the time that he passed away. And that was really the point where I was supposed to make the transition back to a more spiritually connected life. And I didn't. I blew right past it. The things that I experienced when he died, I put them off to the side of my mind. I didn't want to deal with it. And so then the last thing I agreed to was, well, if I missed the first station and didn't turn to become a more spiritual person then, and if I missed the second point, then the third point would be the big moment, the accident, and I would have this experience and be sent back. And as soon as I saw this basically in the air in front of me, all the memories flooded back. And I remember being in the presence of all of my spiritual teachers. And I guess you would call it the presence of the divine was also.
Amazing story, man. Amazing story. What y'all think? Y'all believe her? Like, well, amazing story. Definitely. I know after experiencing something like that, she probably lived life a whole different way. Like, I know I would. I'd be like, hey, I'm living it up. Make sure y'all like the video. Let's get it.
Fuck you up too. The body you occupied in your past life is buried somewhere on this earth.
Hey Luna, were you human in your past life? Were you? What? You were? You were human? Oh my gosh!
Hey Arlo. Arlo, were you human in your past life? Were you a human?
Baby, and yours a baby that took care of us.
She took care of us?
Yeah, I remember that.
Now with the kids be talking like they from the past
Your
life,
mom?
that's amazing.
I remember her. I just miss her.
You do?
He just died. Why?
She died?
Did your mom die?
My mom died, yeah.
Me too. My mom died.
Yours did?
When I was a baby.
Yeah.
I had parents, but they died too. So I had to go.
These children claim to have been reincarnated from other people in past lives, describing details with incredible accuracy. In the 1950s, 2 young sisters named Joanna and Jacqueline Pollock died instantly in a tragic car accident in England, in which the woman who struck the car was not only under the influence of various drugs, but also did so purposely because she was separated from her own children. Devastated, the parents eventually were able to move on when Florence Pollock became pregnant, again with twin girls who they named Jillian and Jennifer. The new twins showed remarkable similarities to their deceased sisters and were said to have memories of their past lives as Joanna and Jacqueline. Jennifer had a small birthmark on her left hip, which mimicked a birthmark that Jacqueline had. She also had a birthmark on her forehead, which was similar to a small scar that Jacqueline had in the same spot. Despite moving towns at a young age, the girls remembered details of the town, Hexham, where the previous girls had grown up. The twins exhibited behaviors and preferences that were consistent with their deceased sisters. They also became frightened and nervous when near cars, shouting things like, "The car is coming to get us." After the age of 5, the memories the twins had of their past lives began to fade. A young boy from Glasgow, Scotland, Cameron McCulley, claimed to have lived a past life on the Isle of Barra, where he had a different family and lived in a white house near the beach. At age 2, Cameron began making statements that related to his past life on this small island, saying things like, "I want to go to Barra to my other family." He described his mother and father with great detail, as well as the layout of the house. Cameron shared several memories of his boyhood life on Barra, but remembered nothing of his adulthood or his death. He claimed to have fallen through a hole in his old house and ended up in his current mother's tummy. His mother took him to the island to investigate his claims, and they discovered that a family matching Cameron's description had indeed owned a white vacation house near the beach. Upon visiting the home, the boy became subdued and sad and repeatedly asked for his past life's mother. The family who once owned the house was contacted, but there was no evidence of a child who died young. A girl from Sri Lanka, Purnima Ekanayake, claimed to have been a famous Buddhist monk named Mahayanananda Thero in her previous life. Purnima spoke of having lived before as an incense maker, saying she died when she was knocked over by a car while riding her bicycle to the market. Thero did in fact die in this manner. After being hit by the car, he was then run over by a bus, breaking his ribs on the left side and puncturing his lungs.
Strangely enough, Purnima had a large birthmark across her chest in this exact location. She was able to provide specific details about the monk's life, including the names of his disciples and the layout of his monastery. These details were later confirmed by researchers. Born in India in 1926, Shanti Devi claimed to remember her previous life as a woman named Lugdi Devi, who died 10 days after giving birth to her child. When Shanti was only 4 years old, she provided specific details about her past life, including her husband's name, the village where she lived, and details of her death. Devi claimed her husband still lived in the Mathura region of India and even spoke in that regional dialect, offering his name Kedarnath and profession as a merchant as proof. Eventually, the 4-year-old girl and her alleged husband from a past life met. The details she shared with him about their life together convinced the man that in fact he was speaking with the reincarnation of his deceased wife. Her claims were later investigated and found to be consistent with the life of Lugdi Devi.
Wow.
Perhaps these stories point to a phenomenon of serendipity and massive coincidence. Or could it be that God or fate or a conscious universe makes a mistake, takes a life that was never meant to be taken, and in turn gives that life back in a new form? Could the essence of what some believe to be a soul somehow be part of a collective consciousness that never truly dies, but returns always in new form, sometimes with memories of past lives that for most fade through childhood like cooling embers?
Nah, that ain't no coincidence. I don't think it's no coincidence all these like little kids be coming back and saying all this stuff. They be too young. Like, how do they know? Like all this detailed stuff and everything. Like, how do you explain that? That definitely look like some reincarnation to me for sure. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Comment below. Make sure you like the video.
When Brennan was 6, he was able to tell me that God sent him down to me because God knew that I really wanted children. And because he was such a kind, smart man, the last time he told me, God sent me back on a white horse and I woke up as Brennan. That's the kind of thing that as a parent you get chills about, but where else is this coming from? I was trying to process like what he meant. This is when you realize you're having a conversation that you're not quite equipped as a parent to have. The emotional intelligence that was in his voice when he said that to me, it was so sincere and it struck me because that's not something a 6-year-old would say. Brennan started to ask me questions. Did I remember being a grown person before? And I didn't. And so Brennan started saying to me that there were old people and there were new people. I wondered, could this actually be? We were in the car driving to the store, and in the back seat, he made a comment like, it's gonna be dark here soon. He sounded like a farmer. I just remember thinking, what child says I was gonna be dark here soon? And in that moment, I asked him, not prepared for the answer, Brennan, have you been a grown-up before? Do you remember being a grown-up before? And very matter-of-factly, Brennan replied without missing a beat, well, yeah, before I fell off the roof and died. I'm surprised that I didn't lose control of the car at the time. What? There are moments in your life that you will forever remember in detail. Things slow down and you can just remember exactly where you were and exactly what your response was and everything around you is just stuck. That was that moment for me. You know, it almost knocked the wind out of me emotionally and mentally because you're thinking, okay, my son just told me that he has memories of falling off the roof and dying. So as I'm putting him in the shopping cart, I'm still trying to be very cavalier, you know, just very kind of cool. Oh, okay. So you fell off the roof and died. Oh, okay. Well, you know, what were you doing? And he replied, well, I was working on the roof and some of my grown-up friends were helping me. I was working on the roof and they were working on the walls. He was so matter of fact, it was almost like, well, duh, didn't you know? And that just knocked the wind out of me.
Wow.
In that moment, I thought, could he really be talking about a past life?
The soul catcher is I think, is the 6 mile high tower in the middle of Sinus Medai, right in the middle of the center of the moon as you look at the moon. And the famous photo that Richard found, Lunar Orbiter 384M, shows that huge tower. And he also has 2 other photographs that show that tower. I think that tower is what I call the soul catcher. When you die, your soul goes to the soul catcher. There are several soul transmission stations, both on Earth and on the moon, and depending on where you're going in your next lifetime is which transmission station takes over.
This is proof that reincarnation is real. This is my aunt, but it's not her, it's her sister. She works as a hygienist. She had a client come in. This is an older guy. Doesn't know anything about her first time meeting. So they sit down, she's doing the cleaning, and he starts to tell her things about her life because he's actually a spiritual medium. So he can foresee the future. He can see spirits. He can tell a lot about somebody just by being there. He predicted a few things that he would have never known. He was saying, I see you working at this office somewhere on this street and you're on the 2nd floor. Her face was like shocked. How did he know this? This guy's never met her. He was telling her, do you know Emmanuel? She's like, who's that? And she's thinking that was the name of her Lolo at the time. He said, Manuel is always with you. And he said that your son, he's living through him. Know what's crazy, bro? Her son, she has a lot of mannerisms.
Like Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Oh my.
My other aunt, so her sister, she was in shock too because she would always pray to him. I guess it's true. Ancestors do watch over us, and he was actually there for them, almost reincarnated.
What y'all think about this reincarnation, man? I mean, you hear the stories of these little kids and everything. I definitely think there's something going on. What y'all think? Make sure you like the video, comment below, man.
Movies and books portray it to be, because all the movies, they have clouds and it's nothing like that. Number one, it's the purest light you ever want to see. What's so supernatural about it is that there is not one shadow. I mean, you look at what we're sitting on, it has corners, it has shadows. You can see his throne, but it's crystal clear, but yet you can see it without a shadow. How do you explain that?
Did he look at you?
No. It's like he paid me attention, but he was so God that I was just there in his presence. It's like he knew it was just an honor for me to be there. But there is such a presence there that his presence is so strong, it's like a soft thunder.
Like a what?
Like a soft thunder. You don't hear it, but you feel it because his presence is so strong. I mean, I'm telling you, that is a place of reverence. I mean, you literally just want to serve him. That's all you want to do.
Think you're telling the truth? What y'all think? Y'all think he's seen him?
The atypical feature of my near-death experience was that I was amnesic, that I had no memories of Eben Alexander's life, no knowledge of this universe, of humanity, no language. Every bit of that was gone. And I think that empty slate was very important for some of the lessons I was to learn. But it is an unusual feature. You don't often find that kind of complete amnesia for life during an NDE. And of course, when I first came back to this world, when my neuroscience memories were still not back, but I knew from talking to my doctors I'd had a severe case of meningitis, I thought, well, I guess that would explain why those memories seemed to disappear, because I was still harboring the illusion that memories are stored in the brain. But we discuss in our book, Living in a Mindful Universe, all the scientific evidence that memories are not stored in the brain at all. At any rate,
where they
deep
stored
in this
at?
experience, the way it all started was Earthworm's eye view, primitive, coarse, unresponsive realm, like I was in dirty jello, roots or blood vessels all around me. I had no body awareness at all during this phase of the journey. If I had just gone to that Earthworm's eye view and come back to this world, I would have had a hellish NDE or a negative NDE. But that's not what happened. I was rescued by this slowly spinning white light.
No fooling there I was. I had just come back from Germany. I went back to Colorado and landed on a military free fall team. One of our first trips together was to go down to Arizona and do a requalification, ensure everybody's skills were up to par. On Monday morning, we go out to the bird. We were doing what's called a Hollywood jump, which is just your parachute and helmet and radio. We get up to altitude, 12 to 14,000 feet. Ramp drops open, first couple guys exit, I get to the edge of the ramp, dive out, I get on heading, check my altimeter, pull my ripcord, everything went perfect. It's just like riding a bike. As the week progressed, we just started adding more and more equipment to ourselves. Till Friday, we were doing what's called a wall locker jump, where everything in our wall locker is now attached to us. So I had a rucksack between my legs, rifle across my waist, I had an oxygen tank and the mask, I had a chest rig that had GPS on it and a compass, and we're pretty weighed down. We all waddle out to the aircraft and load up. We get up to altitude, again 12 to 14,000 feet. Ramp drops open, we get a green light. First couple guys exit. I get to the edge of the ramp, dive out, and get on heading, pull my ripcord, and I've got line twists. All that means is the lines from your harness to the canopy have become twisted. It's typically not a huge deal. You just kind of grab them and pull them apart, and eventually you unwind. But my parachute had kind of kicked me out sideways, and so now I'm relatively horizontal and parallel to the earth. And then I begin to spin and spiral. And so now my lines are twisted, I don't have control over my canopy, and I'm spiraling towards the earth. I'm losing altitude. And I'm beginning to panic because as I'm whipping through the sky, I'm pulling some G's and my vision starts closing in. What I should have done was just cut that parachute away and pulled my reserve. It would have been fine. But I was just kind of dumb or stubborn. So I was just riding that wave. And kind of at the last second before I passed out, my lines became untwisted. I grab my brakes and yank them, and I level out, and I'm flying a good canopy, which was great, except now I'm incredibly dizzy because I just spiraled about 7,000 feet. And so I'm looking all over the sky trying to find my guys. I can't find any of them. They're all yelling over the radio, "Chris, turn around, you're going the wrong way." Finally, there's a break in radio chatter, and I hear Matt come over the radio, super calm. And he's like, "Chris, turn towards the sun." And we were jumping in the morning, and our drop zone was generally east of us. So I look around, I find the sun is directly behind me, so I'd have to hit a hard left turn. About that time, my buddy Andy swoops in front of me to kind of guide me, and then we all land on the drop zone together. Pull my mask off, and I'm dry heaving because I'm still pretty nauseous. The point of the story is, have that thing in your own life that's off in the distance, that amidst your chaos, amidst the storms that show up in your life, you can look up and do a course correction. Make sure that you're flying true to the kind of person you want to become. Send this to someone you care about, because life is short and sweet.
New evidence indicates patients recall
brave
death
man.
experiences after cardiac arrest.
I ain't jumping out of no plane and shit. Hell no, I ain't doing that. Especially not way up there, but yeah, that definitely was a near-death experience.
Now you can say, well, I've heard about near-death experiences. I've heard about people seeing things when they've clinically been dead, etc. But now for the very first time, they have multiple clinical studies showing up to an hour after their heart rates had stopped, some patients revived by CPR had clear memories afterwards of
I don't know what happened, y'all. The connection started messing up. Everything shut down. I had to restart it, and my bad, man. We almost done, y'all. Tap in. Make sure y'all like that video. Appreciate everybody who's still here. Let's finish it up, man.
And are you going to get it through your head that none of this shit matters, bro? What is a kid? Don't tell me a kid is what popped out of your mother's poo-poo. What is a kid spiritually, bro? What is an adult spiritually? What is any of this shit, bro? Why do we work? Why do we go to school? Any of that? No. We're being programmed to forget that we actually came here on Earth to decode our soul. We passed all of the other tests on all of the other planets in this solar system. So we came to Earth to decode our soul to see who we really are through all of those tests. That's why here you have to go through so many reincarnations to decode your solar energy. We decode our solar energy in this plane on an experimental level. Through your experiences is how you figure out who you are.
I woke up inside my mother's womb at about 6 months of age. I woke up inside of there. Like, boom. I don't know what had happened. Maybe my mother went through some trauma or whatever. But I woke up and I was like, oh, God, I'm here. I'm here. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. This is truth. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Just go by. Every once in a while, I would think about something and this would come over. And I didn't know it was my hand. I thought it was a friend. I had my whole name for it. Inside that womb, you were conscious. You woke up because with our son Kieran, when he was my wife was 6 months pregnant, we would put the light on his stomach and he would follow it and push on it. And we'd put the music and we'd put it all the way over to the other side and he would crawl all the way over to the other side of the stomach and push at the light with the music. So what I'm saying to you, you are conscious inside the womb, but we have no common frame of reference. But I remember, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, because I knew I'd been here. Don't forget. You know what I didn't want to forget? This flower of life. And what I tried to tell you guys earlier, this is not your first time, it's not your first rodeo, and it won't be your last rodeo. Don't panic in this life. You can actually, there's no sense of death. Everything goes to sleep and it wakes back up again. Refolds and unfolds, refolds and unfolds.
What y'all think, man? What y'all think about this reincarnation and these near-death experiences, man? Like, I definitely, from those kids and everything, talking and all that, I definitely think, and some pictures and everything, I definitely think reincarnation is a real thing. You feel me? For sure. When I transcend, I just want to, I hope I come back as something I want to come back as. I hope you don't like, if you reincarnate, I hope you don't come back as something random. You know what I'm saying? I hate to come back as something, animal or some shit like that. You feel me? But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this, man. Make sure you like the video. I appreciate everybody who tapped in today. Make sure you subscribe if you didn't subscribe. And I'll be back with another one soon, man. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate my moderators. Much love, man. Peace. It's your boy Thou, FamOverTV.
Fam over.